What's going on, my fellow A-plussers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for a little bit of everything here. It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez. Thank you very much for certainly joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We've got the Mandalorian review coming for you guys today. We got season 2, episode number 4. Technically, this is chapter 12, I believe, titled "The Siege." As we continue along with Mando and Baby Yoda's journey through season 2 so far. So we're going to be breaking that down for you guys today, live on our A-Plus Hero Report YouTube page and streaming on Facebook also, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for certainly joining us today, as always. Listen, if you guys have had the opportunity to watch this episode of Mandalorian, please feel free to go ahead and let me know your thoughts about this week's episode. Again, these are just my A-plus opinions, but at the end of the day, I definitely want to go ahead and know yours as well. So certainly let me know your thoughts on this week's episode. And just so you guys know, in the future, if you do have any particular questions that you certainly would like to ask for this particular show review, for our weekly episodes of A-Plus Hero Report every Sunday at 11 a.m. If you have any questions that you want to go ahead and submit over, feel free to go ahead and shoot those over to our place, aplusopinions@gmail.com. You can go ahead and send your email right there, aplusopinions@gmail.com. If you see any news throughout the week, anything you want to talk about in regards to some of the shows that we review, certainly go ahead and let us know your particular thoughts. So with that out of the way, guys, let's go ahead and just dive right into this particular week's episode. This episode this week was actually directed by Carl Weathers. Certainly great to see him not only in front of the camera, but behind the camera as well. I personally wasn't too familiar with a lot of his past work in regards to directing. Now, Carl Weathers, acting wise, yeah, line him up, man. I remember him from Predators, from Rocky, Mr. Apollo Creed himself. Like, I do love me some Carl Weathers. But for me, I wasn't really used to the idea of him doing any directing work so much. I did see in the past that he has done a couple of television series, maybe a couple of episodes here, a couple of episodes there, sort of thing. So he definitely has some experience behind the, certainly under his belt, to say the least. But I thought he did a pretty good job here, considering the fact that he had to direct himself along with a few others in here, as we get to see Mando getting the band back together, if you will. But yeah, kudos to Carl Weathers for doing a great job. I mean, so far we've seen him. We've seen Dallas Bryce Howard do one. We've also seen Jon Favreau direct as well. And I believe we've got Dave Filoni that's going to be directing next week's episode 5, which is supposed to be the debut of Ahsoka Tano in live action. So let's get ready, guys. But yeah, Carl Weathers, I thought he did a magnificent job. Just opening up this episode immediately made me love two things in here. I mean, how could you not love Baby Yoda, man? I mean, just seeing Baby Yoda and Mando trying to communicate with each other, trying to have Mando explain to Baby Yoda what he's got to do with the blue wire and the red wire. And you just see Baby Yoda looking at him like, what the F are you talking about, man? Like, I absolutely love it. Like, this particular scene really does remind me a lot of like Guardians of the Galaxy 2, where we had that moment between Groot and Rocket when he's trying to explain to Groot like what buttons to push and what not to push, sort of thing, and just the confusion that it ensued. Like that is exactly what I envisioned when I saw this scene, and it still certainly works for me. Even so, I've seen it utilized before. This scene certainly still really worked. Maybe just think Baby Yoda is just as adorable as can be, and I continue to love his chemistry with Mandalorian for the most part as well. So Baby Yoda had a couple other great moments in here also. There's one towards the end of the episode when we see them maneuvering around in the Razor Crest. So much so, it's been a while since I guess Baby Yoda's been able to fly like that, since the Razor Crest has been so damaged over the past couple of episodes. But probably enough G's to make anybody throw up Baby Yoda. So don't be embarrassed whatsoever. But I thought it was pretty funny for Baby Yoda to certainly have his moments here. But also, when we opened up this episode, we got the opportunity to see Cara Dune in action, the returning Gina Carano, to say the least, or you can call her Marshall Dune if you're nasty. But I absolutely love seeing Cara Dune back one more time. Just her intro in here, it seems as though she was definitely on Navarro. I'm trying to wonder if she was beating up a couple of thieves that were, it looks like they were like rummaging through maybe some of the old armory that we saw from season 1, where the Mandalorian blacksmith or whatever the case may be, like I guess it's the Mandalorian covert. It looked as though they were maybe rummaging along through some of those things when Cara Dune winds up coming in, and really just show how badass of a character she certainly is. Gina Carano really is growing on me as Cara Dune, so I'm really glad that they wind up utilizing her in this week's episode. I mean, just seeing her take down these thieves, the fireman carry role, I thought was pretty impressive, picking up these people dead weight. Yeah, she's a beast, man. Gina Carano's a beast, and I'm glad that she continues to showcase just her physicality in this episode. I mean, just in general, when it comes to Cara, I've really been impressed of what they've utilized for her storyline so far. Getting the opportunity to see her handle one of those Imperial transports towards the end when they're trying to make their escape from the Imperial lab. I thought that was pretty impressive. Just seeing Cara Dune behind the wheel, right? It gave me a sense of showcasing what she was able to do when she was part of the service. You know what I mean? When she was working for the rebels, just to see her be able to manhandle that type of machinery and just have her way with it. There's something really cool about that I love, that physicality of Cara Dune, that she's certainly not afraid of anything. So to see her not only kick some ass, but also be a part of a chase scene this week, I thought was pretty cool. And of course, getting the opportunity to crush poor Mithril's speed, his speeder at the end also made me chuckle pretty hard also. But I really love what they're doing with Cara Dune. I mean, they even literally give her own little storyline in this episode, towards the end, when we got the X-Wing officer that we've actually seen one other time in this season pop back up in here to go ahead and question them. I love the fact also, this scene not only does a great job for Cara, because it allows her to now have to make I don't want to say have to make a decision, but the idea of throwing out hey, we could really use you in the New Republic, right? We're very much aware of your service that you've done for us when you were part of the rebellion, right? So we would love to have you sort of back on board. And I love the fact that the X-Wing fighter, the pilot, winds up even referencing that, because of the fact that they are on the outer rim, if you will, that a lot of people in the core worlds really just don't care about what's going on out there, right? So even the officer mentions that there's something going on out here, right? There's Imperial sort of remnants around, sort of activity that's happening, right? That there's a bigger picture that's going on in the outer rim that people are not paying attention to in the core world. And so for that little conversation, for me, I thought did a really good job of just setting up where the world is right now, the political aspect, if you will, in regards to how the core world views the outer world, the outer rim and things like that. So I'm glad that they're at least planting those seeds, and you need people out there like Cara Dune, right, to marshal these towns and marshal these cities. So it's cool to see the X-Wing officer try and recruit her, and the fact that he even puts the emblem on the table. A part of me is wondering, did he just literally marshal her? Is that her marshal badge that now Cara Dune's gonna rock wherever she walks in Navarro's type of thing? I really wanted to see her pick it up and maybe put it on or adjust it, or maybe at some point in time she will join the Republic and become an officer, and maybe that'll be her shield. But I love that it puts Cara Dune in that position, just for a character point of view, for her storyline, to see where she wants to go. She's been pretty active, right? We clearly see that she still has that in her blood to fight back and stand up for the injustices of people, right? So maybe that is where her story is going to go ahead and push her towards. So we'll see what happens with the fate of Cara Dune, but I love the fact that they at least introduced a storyline for her and some questions going forward for her character. So I hope we definitely get the opportunity to see her again in this season, even though we did see Mando wind up departing at the end of this. But Gina Carano, again, definitely impressed me, and a lot of that probably has to do with Carl Weathers directing as well. So really great kudos to her also, I wanted to bring up. But we do get the opportunity to see them go back to Navarro, Baby Yoda, and the Mandalorian, clearly in the process of trying to get repairs. I love the fact that Mando now references them as his friends. I think it shows exactly where Din Djarin's really come from since the beginning of season 1. The fact that this is even an option for him in regards to getting his Razor Crest repaired. So he does go back to Navarro in order to go ahead and do that, and also get to see some of his friends. And I do love getting the opportunity to see exactly how much Navarro has changed. It's pretty funny to me that they've managed to change the bar into like a school, you know, like I'm pretty sure, like, I don't even know how much time has even passed, but I'm pretty sure right down the block, there was probably a brothel, you know what I'm saying? Like some people selling their bodies on the corner of Navarro Street and whatever the case may be, like a couple of months back. So to me, it's rather crazy to see just the huge twist or change that has certainly happened over in Navarro. And a lot of that certainly is thanks to Marshall Dune herself, clearly cleaning up the streets, letting merchants be free to go ahead and sell exactly what they want to, right? So I'm sure the economy's booming. They got a school now and things like that. They've turned the bar into a school, and they have really the eyes to do other things when it comes to Navarro, maybe like investing in trade, if you will. And while the rest of Navarro is free to do as they will, I believe they wind up mentioning that where they're at, though, there is an imperial base. Like there is a presence still of some Imperials left around. And so in order for them to kind of get into trade and bolster their economy a little bit more, they need to go ahead and get rid of them as much as possible. So they decide to go ahead and ask Mando for a favor in taking down this Imperial base that's certainly still there. And that's where our adventure winds up leading, man. And it winds up leading into a host of just great revelations that I didn't see coming at all. And I'm so glad that they wind up giving us some further information, because this Imperial base is not a military base. No, sirree. This is, in fact, a laboratory, or as a laboratory, as some would certainly say. And it's Moff Gideon's laboratory or laboratory as well. So that definitely just makes it even more enticing and more interesting. So I love the fact that as they're trying to blow it up, if you will, they do wind up running across some tapes or some holograms, some messages that were forwarded to Moff Gideon. They even come across like these huge tanks of just like experiments just floating around, really disformed, really disfigured. Clearly, these experiments did not go well for whoever these, you know, the lab rats were, whether they be like clone troopers or actual human troopers up for experimentation, who certainly knows. But what we do come to find out is that the DNA sample that was taken from Baby Yoda in the very beginning, because we do see the hologram of the doctor from season 1, Pershing, I believe his name is, or I believe it's something along those lines. But he winds up popping up, letting Moff Gideon know that their experiments have failed brutally. Like they've tried to do some sort of blood transfusion, taking Baby Yoda's blood and transfusing it with whoever these people are that they're experimenting on. And it seems as though trying to do some type of blood transfusion, maybe trying to build some sort of like force-sensitive clone troopers, or just force-sensitive troopers in general. But unfortunately for the doctor and for Moff Gideon, the report is that they rejected it. That maybe I think he said like overnight it eventually rejected it. So all of them unfortunately didn't work out. We clearly get the opportunity to see the specimens, the failed specimens, if you will, and now they need more of Baby Yoda's blood. So this is exactly what Moff Gideon is certainly working on. That's why he's been trying to get this asset for such a long time. Now that he knows that the DNA samples he did have in fact run out, he needs a little bit more. And so this is the hunt for Baby Yoda. This is all the pieces finally coming together in regards to Moff Gideon's secrets, if you will. Now, granted, there's a ton more to certainly learn about Moff Gideon, but at least understanding why he wants Baby Yoda in the first place is extremely pivotal. There's still a whole entire back history and story for Moff Gideon that we definitely have no idea as of yet, but I am still trying to wait to see what his connection to the rest of the Mandalorians are, along with Bo-Katan as well, because she certainly seems as though she's got a bone to definitely pick with him. So yeah, the doctor reveals all that they need more Baby Yoda blood samples in order to continue along with their experiments. The idea of using that blood transfusions into these other experiments have not gone so well. So we'll see what happens. And it clearly towards the end of the episode, when we do see Moff Gideon, he clearly has his plan still certainly moving along. I mean, the guy looks as though he's creating like either like dark troopers is what it certainly looks like to me. Now, while the dark troopers technically aren't canon, they are part of the extended universe canon, if I'm not mistaken. So we are getting the opportunity to see some of these other story ideas from the EU being kind of plucked over and kind of thrown in. Now, again, I don't know if that's necessarily who they're going to turn out to be in regards to Dark Troopers, but the resemblance certainly is there. I mean, it doesn't even look like necessarily like a stormtrooper outfit. It almost looks like a heavier armor, if you will. Like part of me was thinking, I'm like, are those like mini Darth Vader costumes that's going on over there? But it very much looks like a mixture between like a Death Trooper and or like a Death Trooper with like that's armored up or something like that. So we'll see what Moff Gideon certainly truly has in store. But the idea of maybe creating like force sensitive troopers, that's pretty terrifying to be led by somebody like a Moff Gideon with the Darksaber. That's an army I definitely wouldn't mind actually seeing, but a terrifying one to certainly say the least. So I do find that rather interesting, and that's all coming together for Moff Gideon. Also, quick shout out to the officer that wind up delivering the message to Moff Gideon. I believe her name is Katie O'Brien. I've actually seen her just recently in season 3 of Black Lightning, if I'm not mistaken. I believe she actually worked for the ASA, or I believe she worked for like Agent Odell, was like his right-hand woman, if I'm not mistaken. So it was cool to kind of see her go from something like Black Lightning to an Imperial officer working for Moff Gideon. I mean, just her demeanor alone and just the attitude that I've seen from her, like as an actress, as an actor, perfect fit, Imperial officer all day long. So I really do hope I get the opportunity to see Katie O'Brien again, because I thought that was a pretty cool little cameo that she wind up making in there. A couple quick honorable mentions. Let's see here that I wanted to bring up. Love getting the opportunity to see Mithril. Mithril was in fact back, the blue creature that we saw from the very first episode of season 1 that the Mando wind up having a bounty puck on. So that was cool to kind of see his paths cross once again and kind of see them all work together. He actually worked alongside them pretty good. Great little comedic aspect here this week in regards to the humor, and he did everything that the rest of the team certainly needed. So Mithril certainly proved to be rather helpful in here. And of course, one of my favorite things to me had to be the return of the Razor Crest, to be honest with you. Not only just special effects wise, because the special effects were really on point here, like just from the chase with the speeder bikes, I thought they looked great, but the return of the Razor Crest in its full form, right? We've spent the past couple of episodes just seeing this rickety old piece of trash just trying to make it through space sort of thing, right? But now that it's fully ready to go, it was so great to have just that musical score attached to it, amazing graphics and cinematography, like just some really great shots and angles as the Razor Crest really comes back to life and takes down some of these TIE fighters. So I thought that was a really great addition to this episode. Also, if I did have any questions though, one question that I would have towards the end of this episode is Greef aware that one of his own people technically is a spy for Moff Gideon? Because we also saw that Moff Gideon connected, or I believe it's the Imperial officer connected with one of the engineers on Navarro that technically put like a tracer on the Razor Crest in the process of having it fixed. So a part of me wonders if Greef knew that one of his own engineers was a spy for Moff Gideon, because now Moff Gideon has the ability to go ahead and trace where Mandalorian is at with the asset. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see like a spring surprise from Moff Gideon, like gotcha, like traced you back and gotcha. I mean, we are about to go ahead and have him meet with Ahsoka. Mando and Ahsoka are about to meet here in episode 5. Is this where Moff Gideon winds up making his move because of the fact that now he's got them traced? It should be a rather interesting meeting when this all certainly goes down. But I've loved what Giancarlo Esposito has done as Moff Gideon. Talk about just making your presence felt. And yeah, just the guy, when he's on screen, he takes it all. He takes it all. It's hard to not see anything but Moff Gideon. He's such a fantastic actor, man. He truly is. But other than that, guys, I think that's probably going to be everything for us. Oh, real quick, the mention of Alderaan I thought was pretty cool. Going back a little bit to Cara Dune, I thought that was pretty fascinating. Again, really get into the depths of who Cara Dune is as a character. And I like that idea that he even brings up Alderaan. And I have a feeling he probably brings up Alderaan to maybe give her additional motivation for her to fight. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I get the idea that you left the rebellion and you wind up going out there and becoming a mercenary, but don't forget that the fight is still out there, right? Like the people that destroyed your planet are certainly still out there. So if you have a reason to fight, Alderaan should always be your reason to fight, considering the fact that you really have nobody else there for you. You know what I mean? So I thought that was some pretty powerful stuff, to be honest with you. So yeah, Carl Weathers directing, thought was great. Cara Dune's storyline and spotlight this week, I thought was brilliant. And of course, the Moff Gideon plans really coming to fruition for us to kind of know exactly why he truly wants Baby Yoda at the end of it. But I really have enjoyed what I've seen so far. Like this journey just to get wherever Mando has gone has really brought him across some really great characters, some really great tidbits in regards to just the lore of the world that we're in, introducing us to some great extended universe characters, even some just regular canon characters from the novels that I honestly didn't think that we would get the opportunity to see, really diving into the world of creatures this year a little bit more along with this journey, and then just the pieces of the puzzle coming together. I think that they've done a really good job of pacing this season so far. So really, really fantastic episode this week, guys. But listen, at the end of the day, though, I definitely want to know yours. Listen, if there's anything I missed about this week's episode that you want to further go ahead and talk about, whether that be character moments or storyline plot details, go ahead and certainly let me know your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here today. So thank you very much for definitely joining us this week. If anything, we certainly will be back with a brand new review for you guys, and definitely looking forward to that Ahsoka Tano debut. So guys, do me a big favor. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and may the force be with you. I'll talk to you later. Keep it A+. Bye.